Good evening, everyone. It's 7:04 p.m. on March 16th, 2021, and the Northbrook School Board District 28 meeting is now in session. Dr. Hewitt, would you please call the roll?
Member Gallinson?
Here.
Member Gilmore?
Here.
Member Facchetti? Member
Here.
Member Kohler?
Here.
Member Gross?
Here.
Member Silvershack?
Here.
President Katzmall.
Here. We are meeting again tonight in Zoom as permitted by special orders of the governor and in compliance with our own school policy requesting that parents and guardians minimize time spent in the school and conduct business remotely in order to minimize cleaning needs in the building due to COVID. We don't have a flag in our respective residences this evening, so we will skip over the Pledge of Allegiance and move directly to visitors' comments. Terry Ryan or Dr. Hewitt, do we have any comments to report?
Yes, we do. We have one at this point, and I'll go ahead and read it. Dr. Hewitt and Board of Education members, my name is Amy Wharton, and my husband and I are the parents of an 8th grader at MBJH. First of all, thank you for all of your hard work and leadership throughout this pandemic. There's no manual on how to successfully implement learning during a worldwide health crisis, but District 28 has offered families options, and this flexibility has been greatly appreciated by my family. In November, we were not in a position as a family to allow our child to return to in-person learning. This was a difficult decision to make and one that involved multiple factors, including my husband's type 2 diabetes. In January, as the positivity rate fell and vaccines became available, we reached out to administration to see if more students would be allowed to return. Understandably, district administration reported that additional students would not be able to return under the current guidelines for social distancing. This evening, the updated social distancing guidelines will be discussed. These guidelines would allow more students to return to in-person learning and to pursue many of their pre-pandemic interests. Thank you in advance for considering these guidelines. Best regards, Amy Wharton. And then I'm going to refresh real quick and we'll see if there are any others. So there are no others at this time.
Okay, then we will close the public comments portion of the meeting and move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. As you know, we always do our board calendar review and we have our enrollment reports. This particular month, we have our a revised or corrected January enrollment report to go along with the February one. I don't know if you have any questions or comments on any of those items. If not, then we also have the community health metrics. This is something that obviously I've been including since the start of the pandemic. The metrics continue to go in the right direction. And if you follow the Northfield Township Public Health Dashboard, you'll see that the Northfield Township and the Northfield Township plus adjacent zip codes slipped into the red. And so, but the positivity rate is still in the green. And it's not anything I'm worried about at this time. And our internal health metrics still look very, very good. Any questions on those? Okay, the Cook County travel quarantine map, as you know, is updated I believe it was March 9th, and will be updated again on March 23rd. We did a survey of our families to see how many might be traveling, and our survey indicates that 349 families are traveling, and of those 349, if we use the current map, about 225 families will be traveling to what are called orange states, and those are the states you have to quarantine after return, and 99 are traveling to what are currently yellow states. And then we have an additional 25 families that are traveling internationally. So those, we'll see what the next map, because the next one that comes out is the one that's going to determine who has to quarantine. And we do have an option where people other than international travels who have to do a full 7-day quarantine, those who travel to orange states and get tested come back with a negative test after or by the 4th day or later would be back in school the following week. We are hoping Florida turns yellow, so we'll see.
Larry, did we gather data on which states the families were traveling to so that we could refresh our numbers at the point that we see the new map?
Yes, we have all the states. Florida is number one, but we cover, I don't know how many, but it's got to be at least 20 different states.
Wow.
So
Florida was expectedly number one, just out of curiosity, so that we know when we're map watching what are the other top 3 or 5 we might want to be keeping an eye on.
yeah, I'm going to pull that up right now. If you'll give me just a second. Let me see if I remember where I put that document. All right. Yeah, I think I found it. So I can find the raw data. Here we go. So this Arizona and Colorado are, I should say Colorado and Arizona are number 2 and number 3. Far, far, far behind Florida though. So not even a close race.
And after that, a substantial drop off. Those are really the big 3 in terms of what would improve the numbers.
Yes. Now, if I go to the current yellow states, kind of the same numbers that we're seeing for Arizona and Colorado, Wisconsin and Michigan are similar, and they're yellow. I mean, we're in the low 20s in terms of number of families in those 4 states I just mentioned, in each of those 4. And then California, which is currently yellow, is just below the 20 mark.
I see. So same risk as from this summer when we had people, for instance, road trip to Texas and have the color change, while they were there. That's the same risk we're talking about here.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right.
Other questions about this from the board members? Okay. Thanks.
What's not on in my report, it's very quick. I did talk to Scott Meek about the course placement process this year for our 8th graders, just to see, if what any differences there might have been from the high school's perspective from last year to this year or in years past. And he said it was really exactly the same process that they've done in the past, with one change, which we already knew about. The PSAT was not given this year, so they did not have that data. Instead, they used our MAP data for math and English language arts, so our measures of academic progress, which is something you guys are familiar with. Chris does an annual report in the fall on that one. So other than that, though, everything was status quo.
And that data was shared out, was it in the Friday email from Dr. Meek?
Terry, was it this past Friday or the Friday before?
Yes, it was this past Friday. And it's also available on the website under NBJH information for 8th grade parents.
Terrific. Thank you, Terry.
Interestingly, I don't know how many of you know this, but Dr. Meek had a Zoom meeting with his 8th grade parents at 6:30, just right before this meeting, to discuss graduation options. So he did share 2 options. One would be a more traditional graduation outside at GBN on the football field. Everybody socially distanced and, kids spread out and all that. The second option is what we did last year, which is, a little bit more intimate from a parent perspective in that they would be up close and personal. Both are outdoor events. The rain event, the plans for rain. So if it would be at the high school, then the kids and the staff would go into the Shealy Center, and we would have to live stream basically the kids getting their diploma. We couldn't have any parents in there because of this. With 200 graduates, we could not put them on the stage and socially distance them. They would be out in the audience, and we would live stream then that particular event. If it rains, the other piece of that one is it would be Sunday, May 30th, which is Memorial Day weekend. That was the only time we could have the kind of the football field and the turf in the stadium for that. The other one was June 1st with a rain date of June 2nd. So tomorrow, Scott will put out a survey to all of our 8th grade parents and just get a sense of what they would like to see for their graduates.
That's the official school side stuff. The pieces that are also 8th grade graduation related, like the graduation party, is that a PTO function, not a school function, is my recollection?
Yes, we obviously work with the PTO on that. I believe that's correct. And I think Scott would reach out to the kids on some level to see if we're limited in what we can do with a large get together. What are some other options maybe we can explore for the graduating class?
It'll be good to see what happens as the numbers hopefully keep moving in a positive direction. There was an optimistic email I'm guessing many of us received from Ravinia that made us think that maybe some outdoor activities are going to be coming back distanced and otherwise carefully done.
My next item was the ISBE IDPH came out with updated guidance on last Tuesday, just a week ago. Did not know this was coming, but on some level, I'm glad because it certainly helps us as we begin preparing for the next school year. You know, what is it? What are the rules of engagement, so to speak, that we're working under? I highlighted 6 areas that, or 6 important points that I pulled out of this particular document. I'm not necessarily going to go through each one of them. If you have any questions on any of them, I'm happy to answer that. We have had, just so you know, we've had some, and this references the public comment that occurred that came earlier. We've had I've had 3 or 4 people reach out to me. Maybe the principals have had more, I don't know. Just asking, is this something that we would consider moving to this school year? And the administrative team and I met yesterday to talk about this. And there are some issues and challenges with moving now to something like this. And I'm just going to lay those out for you right now. When we ask parents to make a choice for the second semester, we laid out kind of the ground rules on what we were going to do and what they could expect from us. The 6-foot distancing was a major mitigation effort. It's been in place, as you know, since the start of the school year. What these guidelines do is it reinforces the fact that 6 feet is best. However, it says that you can go down to as low as 3 feet between students if they have their masks on. So you can imagine what that does is it takes a classroom, and in an elementary classroom, maybe we can fit 14 or 15 desks 6 feet apart. If we go down to 4 feet or 3 feet, then that might add another row for us, where we could get another 3 to 4 kids. So it does, open up more space for us. But it would break one of our major mitigation efforts that we had told parents that we were putting in place. The other piece to keep in mind with that is the quarantine rules for close contact have not been reduced. So if I'm a student and I'm sitting in my desk, and right now I'm 6 feet apart from everyone, if my neighbor tests COVID positive, no one else in that classroom is going to have to quarantine. As soon as we go down to 5 feet or 4 feet or 3 feet, if we have one student who tests positive, then each student around that student, which is going to be probably at least 4 other students, are going to be required to do I think it's a 10-day quarantine, if I remember correctly. So that would be an impact on all of our kids that we have to keep in mind. The third thing I would say is almost any child right now who would move from, say, remote to in-person has to do a change in teacher or teachers. So if it's a third grade student who's in a remote learning academy, if they come in person, obviously they're going to have a brand new teacher. At the junior high level, they probably wouldn't have one new teacher. They're going to have a new math teacher, a new science teacher, a new English language arts teacher, so you kind of understand the problem there. It's one thing we did that, right, at the semester mark. And I think it's one thing to say, we're going to now have a full semester with that child, and the teacher is going to be able to spend, the first 3 to 4 weeks getting to know the child, getting to know their strengths and weaknesses, trying to figure out where they are, and then, continue to work with them. The problem now is, by the time we get into that situation where the teacher understands the child, we might have 3 weeks left of school. So I'm not sure if there's, well, let me state that more clearly. There's not an academic benefit for the child to switch teachers at this late stage. The other piece to that puzzle is, of our instructional days we have left, as you know, the state of Illinois is requiring districts to do their state testing. So that's going to take, Chris, can you tell me, is that about a week's worth of class or so?
Yeah, it's a total of about 8 to 10 hours of testing time.
So then when we take, that group, or that time, and then we pull out that instructional time, it's even less time. So at this time, I do not envision us dropping down below 6 feet for those reasons.
Larry, am I understanding right to say that we're sticking with the original policy, which was that movement, not at the semester break, between in-person and remote is only for sort of extenuating circumstances? It's essentially the take home.
Correct.
Okay. I think in the course of your comments, you kind of went over the 6 points that you'd highlighted in the written packet for the board. I know there's some people listening who can't see or they probably could see the written packet if they hop to the website, but are any of the other kind of 6 major points that you highlighted from the packet on the 22nd worth additional discussion? I'm assuming that this point number 2 about capacity limits is the reason that the Shealy Center is an option for graduation. It sounds like there isn't any more the idea that no indoor room can go beyond 50 people. The reason we got the 200 students is because you could seat every other row, every third seat.
That's correct. That 50-person capacity is out except for buses. And, for us, that's not going to mean much of a change. We're very comfortable with how we've set up lunch, for instance, because that's really the point in time where we have 200 students at a time, right, that have to kind of be in one place. They don't have to be in one place. They're not in one place for obvious reasons, but we've set it up. We're comfortable with the way that works. And the kids, when they take their masks off, they must be 6 feet apart. So whether that's outdoors, even, they cannot be within 6 feet if they're not masked.
Is there anything else that rule change might make viable? Any extracurriculars, sports things, choir, concert, musical?
Have not had a conversation yet with instrumental music or the choir teacher. We have had some conversations about our spring sports, which is essentially track and field. So we've talked to some other schools in our conference, or most notably in our township, and we are going to be running some track and field events. So that's about the only thing we're going to be running, though, in terms of athletics. But we'll do some exploration about instrumental music, and we'll see where our teachers are at.
I'm trying to mentally measure the bleachers in the big gym or how many chairs one might put on the backfield. So I'll be interested to hear. Were there other board questions about the IDPH and NISB rule changes?
I was just wondering if we were gonna plan on doing anything with tents again, or are we too, or is it too cold and we're not gonna bother?
Oh, good question. So I don't think tents are going to be necessary for the remainder of the school year. What we found out is they were most helpful when it was really hot and we needed more shade. And in some schools, we have more trees, and other schools we don't. And especially, you know, when we're hitting those hot, humid, late August and sometimes September days, they made a lot of sense. We don't have a lot of 90-degree high humid days in May.
Was there some issue with bees with the tents too, or am I?
That was more the food, I think.
The eating the lunch outside was making the bees come. That's what it was.
Actually, the bees like the shade too. I think that's what it was. No, it was
My
definitely
class didn't like the bees, so.
definitely the food. Yes, definitely the food.
Other questions on the changes?
So I have a question. So the changes, the distance changes from 6 feet to 3 feet, will that be implemented next school year then?
So that's a
Or are we
great
not there
question.
yet?
Well, so what I'm having the principals do is start looking at their classrooms to see, you know, can we do 5 feet? You know, or given our class sizes for next year in a typical school year, you know, if we're at 17, 18, 19, 20 students, what's that number look like? Is it, are we going all the way down to 3 feet? Can we even fit 20 kids, 19 kids in a class with 3 feet, or are we still short? So those are the things that we're going to be working on and we have to figure out. But Mara, I would guess that we would relax that standard and we would drop it below 6 feet so that we could have, you know, as many students back as possible. The State Board of Education is encouraging all students to come back. They are also, these particular guidelines also say that if there are health conditions, either with the child or with someone who lives at home with them, that we have to offer a remote option. But clearly, the direction is to get kids back in school.
What are the other variables that we'll be watching over the summer for that? I mean, at this point, we're expecting everybody 16 and up to have vaccine access by, it sounds like May 1st, the access would start, not that everybody would be vaccinated that date. Still looks like some possibility they might lower to cover the junior high aged kids.
Mm-hmm.
What are the other variables that we're still kind of waiting on in terms of making these decisions? We knew we could do 6 feet everybody everywhere, but with significant staffing increases. So at what point are we going to need to know we're sort of pulling the trigger on that decision?
Yeah, significant staff increases, but also significant modifications of our classrooms, because we definitely would be moving into multi-purpose rooms and gymnasiums to hold classes. So it would have a big impact. Now, last summer, we were prepared to do that if enough of our families chose in person, if 100% chose in person, you know, we were going to make that work. But, you know, the fact that we were about at 77%, we were able to keep most of our libraries, I think all of our libraries open, all of our multi-purpose rooms open, and all of our gyms open. So that would be impacted space-wise. And then, let's see, I had another, Tracy, to your question, what other impacts? I had one more I was going to share, and I should have written it down because it's left.
Well, you think it occurs to me to ask it in the other direction too, because we've done an awful lot of surveying of the in-person people, but maybe it's also a good time to survey the remote people, because if it is the sort of thing where the high risk is connected to the child personally, or an adult who for some reason is not going to be in a position to be vaccinated, they may well have that information already in terms of forecasting needs for next year.
Mhm.
And so maybe that is also something for sooner rather than later.
Yeah. The other thing I have in the back of my mind, and I don't know if this is going to become an issue. I'm just wondering, are there going to be people who are moving out of districts that they weren't happy with and moving to places like Northbrook? I don't know if that's the case. It seems like every year we do have people moving from the city that, are just, want to move to a more of a suburban situation. And it typically has to do with a child entering school age. And, certainly there are many great schools in the city of Chicago, but there are also, every year we have people who are coming from the city and moving out because their child is, hits that year 5 or 6, and they want a different experience for their kid. I have a little worry that we might see a jump in enrollment because of that, but I have nothing to substantiate that with. So hopefully that's not the case.
Have we heard anything about the state of Illinois mandating vaccines for kids in school, or no?
No, I am not aware of any kind of mandate at this time. I would imagine that any mandate would accompany whatever opt-out is available right now for students, but I can't say that I've heard that they're going to do that.
And I know there was a study that was underway for like 12 to 15-year-old range. And I think they just kicked off like the little kids, like 6 months to the 11-year-olds. I don't know how far along any of those are. Do we have any information as to, I wonder if it's a possibility that most of NBJH is vaccinate, can qualify for a vaccine, but not the 6th graders?
Possibly, and I don't have updated information on that. Certainly something that we'll watch. I do want to let you know that some of the Northfield Township school districts are looking at the option of partnering if we have a small number of kids who still have to be in remote learning. Is there an opportunity through our shared services agreement that we all passed, or that all of our boards approved? I think it was November-ish. There might be an opportunity for us to leverage some of our resources and bring some of our kids together. It would be a problem for any of us if those numbers are too small, right? So if we had 5 third graders, we're not going to be able to create a class for 5. But if we have 5 here and 4 there and 3 here and 6 there, or however that would work, would it be beneficial for us to come together and develop kind of a remote learning township academy? Possibly. That's under discussion. And obviously, we're all going to monitor our numbers to see if that's something we think would be beneficial.
Larry, have we looked into the technology that the 225 uses, the bird's eye cameras that allow for teachers to zoom in from? I don't know much about it. I know that it's a new technology that the high school has been using so that every teacher that's in person can also be simulcast on Zoom.
Yeah, so I am aware that they have that technology. I don't know much about it. I think, obviously they're right here and we can check into that. I think zooming into a classroom is a lot easier for older students. In some ways, how the classroom is structured and set up is, and I don't want to say, well, I'll just say, if we were in a traditional lecture style classroom, that might be something to explore. Our teachers are certainly not in that kind of instructional model, and it does make it more challenging. We do have some that we're working it here at Northbrook Junior High because of different math levels and things like that, but it's a small number of students. I am not sure about elementary kids zooming in and trying to, coordinate discussions and, making sure the camera is where it needs to go and sound issues and things like that. I think it would be harder as kids get younger.
Sure.
That concludes my report, unless there are any more questions.
Just to build on Jen's point, I think I understand for the younger kids, but it might be worth looking into for the junior high kids, especially as there's so many specialized classes. Any of those kids, that could get really complicated really fast.
Yeah, and Chris, maybe we can chat with the high school and find out who their main contact would be, and who knows, maybe we can try one out.
Sure. We did have conversations with them in fall about the technology they were using. And then we have some neighboring districts who have also purchased technology packages. And we've been in conversation with them as well, so that if we need to do that kind of concurrent model again, if we need it in the junior high, we may have some new technology options to hopefully make it easier for teachers and more effective for students.
Chris, we did have just a couple of teachers doing versions of that right now, right? Where there were unique staffing needs like French.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, we have a handful of teachers at the junior high who are doing that now, and they're doing a fabulous job with it. It is challenging, of course, to have kids both in person and virtual. And I think there are some technology solutions that would help to make it easier for the teachers that might have to do it in the future.
Any more questions on this from any of the board members? There's clearly going to be a lot to kick around each month as we kind of get closer to this and get more data points. So thank you so much to the staff for everything that they've done already, but all the continued effort that will be made to follow this moving target and make sure we do the best we can for our kids with whatever the situation is.
Tracy, I'm sorry, I do have a question. Larry, is there a timeline on when we will sort of have a better idea of what school will look like next year? So that families can make decisions and teachers have an idea of what their, what their classrooms will look like and what they're dealing with. Is there a, I mean, I know it's so dependent upon, the information that's given to us, which we have no control over, of course, of that timeline. But is there any sort of timeline on our end?
So I would say that, well, first of all, we track next year's enrollment, and weekly, the principals and I review that. And so we're constantly tracking who's asked for paperwork to enroll their kids, who might be leaving the district, et cetera. So, and as I said earlier, one thing I need from the principals is kind of their room capacity. And then once I get a sense of what our rooms can hold, how much distance we can put between kids, I'll have a pretty good sense of where we're going to be. I would expect before school is out, certainly. If you ask me right now, what's our model going to look like? I would say that we're going to have as many kids as possible in person, and we're going to have our desks as far apart as we can, but willing to go down to 5 feet and 4 feet if we need to, in order to get that extra row or that, those couple of extra kids, so that we can, make sure everybody who wants to be in person can. I still see a remote learning option, but much smaller. So I see a more normal return to the next school year, but not 100% normal.
Thank you.
No problem, Mara. Anybody else? Other questions on this topic before we move on? Excuse me. If not, then I think we can close the superintendent's report and move to approval of minutes. Did anybody have any comments or questions on the minute?
There were two action items
Oh,
that we wanted to, as you know, in the March board meeting is when we do any kind of reduction in force or non-renewal of probationary teachers. So we have a resolution for both of that. And just as a point of reference, the resolution for the non-renewal of probationary teachers is really all of those teachers we had to hire in order to expand and create a remote learning academy, lower the class sizes, even lower than what we normally would do because of our physical distancing. Those are the teachers that were on a one-year contract, and so we need to release them. If we are in a position where we have to expand sections, we certainly have some people that we would love to hire back, but we just are not in a position to know that right now. So the first action item is the resolution for the reduction in force.
terrific. Apologies for having jumped over that. Are there questions from the board on the reduction in force resolution? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Mara and Michael.
Member Silvershack,
Aye.
Member Gilmore,
Aye.
Member Fracchetti,
Aye.
Member Kohler,
Aye.
Member Gross,
Aye.
Member Gallinson,
Aye.
and President Katzmull.
Aye. In the same vein, we also had an action item for a resolution for non-renewal of probationary teachers and part-time licensed employee.
And we'll just, if we could just drop off the part-time licensed employee, it's just a resolution for the non-renewal of probationary teachers.
Terrific. We will amend that item. Were there any questions on the resolution for non-renewal of probationary teachers? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Lou and Tony, thank you.
Member Gross,
Aye.
Member Fracchetti,
Aye.
Member Kohler,
Aye.
Member Silvershack,
Aye.
Member Gallinson,
Aye.
Member Gilmore,
Aye.
President Katzmull.
Aye. Now we can move on to the minutes. Were there any comments or questions on the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Michelle and Mara, thank you.
Member Silvershack,
Aye.
Member Kohler,
Aye.
Member Gross,
Aye.
Member Gallinson,
Aye.
Member Gilmore,
Aye.
Member Fracchetti,
Aye.
President Katzmull.
Aye. That's the end of the minutes, so we'll move on to approval of consent agenda. Who had the bills this month?
I did.
Oh, and they were locked. That's right.
They were all good. Once I unlocked them.
Terrific. We have a new storage case for the bills that by default had a little lock on it, so nobody else gets stumped in the future. Did anybody have anything, excuse me, that they wanted to pull out of the consent agenda for discussion? If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So
I'll
moved.
move.
Michelle
Second.
and Jen.
Member Kohler,
Aye.
Member Gallinson,
Aye.
Member Gilmore,
Aye.
Member Fracchetti,
Aye.
Member Gross,
Aye.
Member Silvershack,
Aye.
President Katzmull.
Aye. The next item is committee reports, the first one being finance. Jessica.
Everyone. So in your board packets were the financial reports for the month ended February and the bills. Thank you for having them approved. The box is usually unlocked upon delivery. Thanks, Michelle. After 8 months of the fiscal year, the monthly variance shows 57% of the budget expended and 55% of the budget's budgeted revenues collected. Food service sales, as we've talked about, this continues to be a down year for that just because of the way in which we are serving our meals. So we had Year-to-date sales of 50,497 and operating deficit for the month of 11,846. Year-to-date 84,509, a deficit in that fund for food service. Biggest thing I feel like I dealt with recently is this natural gas energy bill from Vanguard, which was $69,761. This is 60,000 plus more than our bill last month. And just to give you an idea, we pay 31.4 cents per therm for our contracted volume. And then we pay a little bit of a premium, 2.5 cents per therm if we're above our contract average for the month. And so what that cost us for our overage for February, which was really cold and had the storm in Texas, was $5.62.5 per therm. So we are in contact with Vanguard. We meet with some partners tomorrow to discuss it. We've consulted our attorney on what recourse may be available, and we are working through EdRed with other Illinois legislators, several of whom were already involved with the spiking that occurred last month due to the severe weather in Texas. So that was probably the so that's a big one we're trying to work through. Family monetary donation, we received a $1,000 gift from a parent for the Gifted Talented program at Northbrook Junior High. So the board policy requires that board approval for donations over $500. And just a quick budget update. I know you guys just read through the IDPH guidelines for this year and what that means for next year and all of that. Just we're continuing to look at that budget and what we need to provide for next year. And the goal over the next few years will be to try to build a budget that replenishes our fund balance. Next year, the budget is being constructed with that in mind, while simultaneously making sure we're allocating the funds necessary to continue providing exceptional instructional experiences for our kids.
Jessica, do we know if we're going to be getting any federal money to help offset some of this? And
so the CARES Act 2, it's ESSER, I'm not sure what it stands for. The grant just became available. That's $165,000. Initial estimates on that one we received were over 210. We can backdate that to when the pandemic started and allocate some of those funds backwards. This new act that was passed, I believe, last Thursday, we'll have some additional money. I've seen one estimate that I can't verify, so I'm not even comfortable talking about the number. So we'll see how that gets allocated to the state and then funneled through. I do have a meeting next this week, Thursday, with Illinois Emergency Management Agency. Initially, the IEMA applications kind of excluded PPE for schools and some other expenses, and they've since loosened some of those regulations. So I'll be meeting with them to see what it takes to get some of those expenses covered.
thank you.
Jessica, were there any federal funds or other relief for the Vanguard issue? I don't know if this would be something like for, I mean, obviously everyone is aware of it, but for the, Congressman Schneider's office or anything, on a more national scope?
I'm not sure about that. I mean, the expose we got from Vanguard on the reasons was pretty, it didn't dive as deep as they think the problem is and why that occurred. Right now we're staying local with Illinois legislators, and then I'll take EdRed's lead and see, or if they recommend going to the next level, we'll see.
And just so you guys know, our attorney has indicated that he's working with other school districts on the same matter, and he's advised us to not pay the bill at this time.
Yeah, thank you.
Jessica, about the donation that we need to approve. It's just an unrestricted donation for any purpose within the gifted and talented budget.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions on the finance report? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Michael and Tony, thank you.
Member Gilmore,
Aye.
Member Fratelli,
Aye.
Member Kohler,
Aye.
Member Gross,
Aye.
Member Silvershack,
Aye.
Member Gallinson,
Aye.
President Katzmal.
Aye. Next item also in finance is appointment of Assistant Township School Treasurer. This is Jessica for Jessica.
Yeah. Every 2 years, we reapprove this appointment. It allows for the purchase of the surety bond.
Any comments or questions?
I will heartily endorse Jessica's placement as the assistant treasurer.
Thank you.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Terrific. A motion from Tony. Do we have a second?
I'll second. You got the finance committee.
Member Fratelli,
Aye.
Member Kohler,
Aye.
Member Gross,
Aye.
Member Silvershack,
Aye.
Member Gallinson,
Aye.
Member Gilmore,
Aye.
President Katzmal.
Aye. That concludes the finance reports. We're moving to buildings and grounds.
There's really nothing new. Lou, do you want to jump in?
I don't have anything to add now.
Yeah, just as a reminder, I would say that our architect has been working with us on the 2 roof projects that we have to do this summer, one at MBJH and one at Greenbrier. And then we are looking to upgrade our security systems at our schools and some other security enhancements. So Joel has been walking around our buildings with some different companies to gather proposals. Our hope is to have, Jessica, the roofing bid, we're going to have that ready for the April meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are still on track for that.
Okay. And I would say my hope is to have a proposal for some security enhancements also. But these things that we've been working on, but that's just a quick update.
Anything else on buildings?
I'm sorry, can I ask? I mean, I guess Lou and team, by virtue of no really news over the last couple of weeks, we survived the heavy snows and the big melt then without any known issues. So all of the plant items held up fine.
I kept warm by natural gas, unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
Nothing else there, Mara? Did you have anything?
Nothing further to add.
Okay, terrific. So we'll conclude buildings and grounds and move on to communications. And Terry.
Good evening. Just a couple of quick updates. We have had over 700 downloads of the mobile app to both the Google Play and Apple Store. And I have, I'm not sure how many have actually requested the individual login. I haven't quite kept count of that, but we'll continue to drive interest on that and monitor the app, and I continue to update it to keep it engaging and making sure we're adding the information that parents may want. Parents have been over surveyed, so I kind of hesitated to send out another one on the mobile app, but I will develop one of those shortly as people maybe get a better feel for it and may have some opinions of what they like or what they'd like to see added. And if we can all do that, I have heard many requests about, well, why can't we have the student directory on there too? And that's actually a different system, and it's an initiative that's run by the PTO. It may be something that we can explore in partnership with them for the coming year. But right now, the reason we don't have that is that it's really under the guise of the PTO. Our 5 essential survey closed. I'm sorry.
Before you move on, I just want to mention I did download the app. One of the things I noticed, and I don't know if I didn't do something right, but I'm not getting notifications, and I've turned notifications on for it. So
yes, that's what you need the login for, to get the ones that are customized for you. Otherwise, we haven't been sending out like blanket notifications that would be general. So,
Well, I see that there are notifications in there. It's just not, it's not popping on my phone. Like it's not,
no, I know, it doesn't do that. And
okay,
I don't know why,
okay.
but it doesn't do that. I've asked them about, they're like, that it doesn't do that. It should, but it
should.
doesn't.
Okay, got it.
I'll bring that back to them and see if they can fix that. Okay, so the 5 Essential Survey closes April 2nd. We have met all the thresholds to receive the full report from all of our schools relating to staff, student, and parent feedback. And some of those results will be shared in the school report card in October. And then finally, we did a little social media project relating, and I guess all over communications project relating to our 1-year anniversary of Zoom meetings and closed schools. And I worked with the staff on asking for submissions on what they felt was the silver lining, what maybe something that kept with them through this experience and maybe something positive. And we featured those on social media and also through the parent newsletter. And I'm featuring some of them on the website. We asked parents to also share with us what perhaps some of their silver linings were. And I made a note in here of I copied a couple of the very kind words we received from some parents relating to our efforts as well. And yeah, and I attached the photo album if you hadn't seen it already. And that concludes my report unless anybody else has questions.
It was a lovely idea, the silver linings post, Terry. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Other board comments and questions?
Oh, Terry, I don't know if this falls into it, but do we have a plan for Celebrate 28?
Probably pretty much like last year. We will be asking our staff to submit tributes to create the retiree booklets like we did in the past. We will not be able to have a banquet. We're pretty sure in that. But so at this point, that's kind of where we're at, is more of another virtual recognition of our retirees and years of service.
Would we ever consider doing something maybe a little bit into the summer, even though school's out, and seeing if everybody wanted to do it then, just so that maybe we could do something outside?
Yeah, I think we can explore, and see if there are some options available to us. We'll check some of the updated guidance for outdoor events and see if there's any way to, have some kind of summer. It would have to be a summer event, I think, but it's definitely worth considering.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if everybody can't make it like they normally do, I feel so badly for all those retirees and people who don't get a chance to get together and really enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
One of the nice things that happened last year at each of the schools was in the 5th grade drive-by parades, where at Meadowbrook in particular, they had several teachers who retired, and the PTO organized a drive-by for them. So we'll also work with the PTO and see if there's ways we can recognize our retirees.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions on communications? If not, were there further NSSED reports for this month, Michael or Larry?
The only comment I have is that there's been no resolution of the budget deficits, NSSED's budget deficits related to COVID expenses and reduction enrollment. There was a meeting on February 17th with the member superintendents, and they gave feedback to the administration. And I think they're going to come up with a new recommendation and once again meet with various stakeholders and it'll probably go to the Leadership Council on April 14th.
Is that the next meeting, the 14th?
Yes,
So there's no March meeting. We're already done.
yes, we had the March meeting. This is the report of the March meeting.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect. I thought you said February earlier, so I must have.
Oh, no.
Are we starting, Mara, maybe doing a little shadowing? Because I know that this is a weighty subject right now.
I will attend the next meeting, yes.
Okay, terrific. Anything else you want us to know, Michael? Thank you so much for all the time and effort that's been put into this really challenging issue for NSCD's sort of budget future.
That's all I have to report.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board or from Larry or Kelly? Okay. Okay. We'll move on to the standing committees. SAFE, I think we had some minutes in the packet. Was there anything else to report from the SAFE meeting?
Nothing else to add beyond what's given.
Okay. Larry, anything else on your end?
Nope. Next
Okay.
meeting's tomorrow.
Excellent. Good. That brings us to new business. Did anybody have any new business to raise tonight? There's enough constant business now without new business, right? So let us do the motion to go into closed session. Just give me a moment to navigate to that. I'll now ask for a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees as authorized by statute. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Michael and Mara, that sounded like?
yes.
Member Gilmore,
Aye.
Member Silvershack,
Aye.
Member Gallinson,
Aye.
Member Frichetti,
Aye.
Member Kohler,
Aye.
Member Gross,
Aye.
President Katzmal.
Aye. The last item on the agenda after the closed session tonight is adjournment. There is no other business. So for that reason, at 8:01 tonight, which is the current time, we're going to go ahead and close the live feed and thank Ramsden and allow him to complete his day's work. So thank you for your service, and we can turn off the
Before we
live.
go,
Oh, excuse me. One
before we
more.
go, do we have another link for the closed session? Did I miss that?
It was just sent. I received it.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, sorry, it came out late. My apologies, but you
That's
do
okay.
have the link.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
terrific. So everybody stay put for a minute and let's let Ramsden sign off, and then we will sign off as well. Good night, everyone.